Well, Boston might have taken a bad day at the office and turned it into a whole bad rest of the season. This is going to be real tough if we shot ourselves in the foot as hard as I thought we did in this game. Um, so obviously some things to build off of, but a couple of really black marks that might come back to haunt us later on in this year. We are in a position in the table where every point isn't as critical as it might be if we were in a different one. We're probably locked up for a wild card spot, but it's all about our form and our ability to compete going into that playoff picture that has me a little bit worried. Let's just jump right into it. Whoa. Let's just jump right into it because I have a couple things I want to talk about. We can run through the game. I'm going to try and sprint through it, get through it really fast. But there's a couple of points that we need to just touch on first. Maybe one of the last times we're ever going to see this. That's sad. Don't be sad because it's over, but it happened and we'll miss it when it's gone. Unfortunately, Bergeron definitely does get badly injured in this game. I hope it's not a bad protocol for concussion, and I hope his symptoms aren't bad, but he definitely hit his head on the boards, falling awkwardly on that incidental contact with Crosby. How long he's out for could determine how much we struggle in the next couple weeks. Because if we don't have a 2C, if we lose our 1C, we're absolutely doomed. And people just say we don't have a 2C. We have like 2.5 centers. Coyle, Nosek, and Hulla are all very close. What really hurt us in this game, though, is Marchand at the end of the game, right? That punch on Jarry and then going up after him. I don't really need to show it, but the stick towards his face is going to be something that puts the nail in the coffin for a really long suspension, in my opinion. You can't do that. The player safety will look at that and say absolutely not. Um, yeah, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. Let me just jump into the game. Let me talk about this game first, and then we'll talk about some of the overarching stuff I want to hit on later. So, Boston and Pittsburgh is going to be a really great matchup whenever they play. High intensity, high aggression, and just a good game, almost always. Vakanainen's out, so Clifton comes in on defense for Boston. Bleed is out. Foligno is in for Boston. Boston started strong, had a really great first period. Second line got the forecheck going early, and the third line did a really good job of following up on that second line and keeping the energy going, keeping the pressure pushed in on Pittsburgh. I thought the second line was our best line the whole game, and they started it off right. Good body position, good physicality, and speed, always speed on that second line. Boston would get off to an early power play as Heinen trips Coyle and capitalized. Pastrnak with a classic one-timer 2 minutes into the game. Um, Feed from the dot from Hall after Bergeron keeps it into the blue line. Great play all around. Penalty early on one side that leads to a goal. I think the rest maybe wanted to even it up as Jake DeBrusk gets his stick horizontal. For sure, the stick does go horizontal. Not for very long. He gets a hooking call. This is something I'm going to hit on later on, is consistency. I need the calls to be consistent by the officials and by the Department of Player Safety. Keep our players safe, keep the game clean, and do your job, right? Enforce the rule book. So if you're going to call this hooking on Jake DeBrusk, I would expect to see a lot of hooking calls in this game. Let's maybe touch on some hooking calls that we didn't see right now. So keep in mind there's only one hooking call made all game. This is in the second period with no time left. So it's very different in situation now. Look at where this player's stick is. 35 seconds. That's one picture. Next picture. We're almost 2 full seconds later. The stick is now still across Coyle's body and is now being hugged under Jarry's armpit. Okay? This is still pretty much happening right in front of the ref. And keep in mind, there are 3 other referees on the ice. The player who's hooking Coyle is still hooking him. So we've gone from 35 seconds to 32.2. So we're at 3.8 seconds. He's now calling over to the ref saying, "No, I swear I'm not hooking him." And the ref is looking essentially directly at him. Puck is nowhere near. I don't understand how that's not a hooking call. Ever, right? It doesn't make sense how there's that much inconsistency where you can get away with it for almost 3 full seconds. 2.8 seconds is about where we have it. Crazy. That's not to say that this was the only hooking call that should have been called, right? Here's another one on Crosby. This is Bruins defenseman. There's the blade of his stick. If you see that, that should be a hook. That's a hook by the letter of the law. Here, he is cross-checking him into the back. That's probably a penalty as well. I just need to see this type of officiating consistency from people who have paid a livable wage to referee hockey games. Please officiate the game according to the rulebook. Thanks. So consistency is something Boston as a team also need to work on. If they played the whole game like they played this first period, great. If Pittsburgh played the whole period like they played this first period, it would have been 18-0. The first line did a really good job of building on their forecheck. I'm going to talk on that as well. I thought they did a really, really, really good job. This is a situation where Boston have been in this situation where so many times before, where usually this player's trailing and looking for a drop pass, but they've recognized that teams are playing with a very high forecheck. That leaves them very vulnerable deep. What do we do in this situation? Puck goes down, Smith goes for retrieval. Perfect. Wins this battle as the defenseman kind of misplays it, and Smith's able to actually button hook and walk out here, past this Jägermeister sign. Feed a beautiful dish pass to Marchand and play the low game. We even get a second opportunity with Jarry on his back. This is a fantastic hockey play from a fantastic hockey line. Not the most skilled, doesn't have to be. It's very, very effective. This is a great scoring opportunity. Maybe if Craig Smith is on the point between the hash marks instead of in a line, we have a potential goal here because there's a backhand dish that's got a lane for shooting. Great stuff. Love this. Love this from the first line. Unfortunately, this is all happening in the first period and not much to talk about later on. So the lineman forecheck is really, really good. I thought Swayman had a couple shaky shots on him early where he had to be calm. And then the shakiness didn't stop against him. And a couple were going wrapping around his glove, knuckling around him. It was a really, really wild, bouncing puck game. Let's see, what else happened? Great third line chance, building off more line 1 forecheck, line 2 speed, line 3 keeps it moving. Boston D seemed to be winning every battle in their own zone in the first period. That was really, really powerful. Great to see. But now can they keep it up for the full game? Boston would make it 2-0 after going up on that power play goal early. Letang would try a pinch that he would flub his stick play on. The puck would go the other way with a 3-on-1 on the second line. And I want to actually draw this. I want to draw what happened. So if we have Jarry in net here, we have our Bruins coming down like this. A 3-on-1 in this direction, obviously. Matheson is the sole defenseman, and I think he plays it about as good as you can. When he lies down, stick in front of him. Hall is the puck carrier here. In this situation, when they're already past the dots and in a shooting position, I think you do take and shoot here. You can't force this pass over. Matheson is protecting this, doing the right job and protecting this pass. Ideally, though, you'd actually have the puck carrier right here, so that you can maybe force the top of the crease pass for the back door, or you can set up this drop pass, which creates the setup you already have anyways. It just forces Matheson to play deeper. If Matheson has to play deeper, you can set up the drop pass across here that you want anyways. But Howell has the puck here. I'm not even going to undo it. Never mind. Hall correctly shoots. Pastrnak crashes the net and just buries the rebound on the near post. Great finish. not perfectly executed, but really, really well done by all sides. This was like a playoff level play, like a NHL playoff level of hockey play. Great to see. That makes it 2-0 Boston, and you're getting the feeling that Boston could start to run away with this period. They're just outplaying Pittsburgh on all three zones of the ice. So Riley is starting to feel that confidence. I think he's a player who was built with a lot of offensive capability. Hasn't shown as much of it as maybe we would have liked to see so far this year. But when he's feeling confident, you can see it in his game because he's feeling more willing to jump up into the rush. And there was a couple times throughout this game he was doing so. There was one time in the first period when he pinches so deep with the puck, he's able to wrap the whole net uncontested, then fire the puck near side off the crossbar on Jarry. Like, really, really nice attempt. Is the type of confidence you want to see from him moving forward. Maybe he can find a seam pass. He's threatening with it. He's going all the way around the net, and then having the confidence to fire one, and it being good enough, to beat the goalie. Great chance. Right after that, the third line would come out and skate laps around Pittsburgh, as Pittsburgh look like they're starting to drown in their own zone. They're watching defensemen do wraparounds their own net. Jake DeBrusk is, like a man on fire out there. Then, so it's a post for Riley. Then Jake DeBrusk hits a post. Pittsburgh are floundering out there. Jarry is the only one keeping this game close. He makes 3 huge saves point blank from the first line as Marchand is hunting for a goal. Marchand really, really wants one. Boston are allowed to overwhelm their lines, are allowed to roll their lines and overwhelm Pittsburgh. It's one of those situations where the momentum is solely in Boston's corner, and Pittsburgh aren't doing a great job of breaking out of their own zone and having a dangerous counterattack yet. After that second goal, the shots were relatively even, but Boston still ended the period at about 15-11. So you were really getting the feeling that they were outchancing them, outshooting them, and had the run of play. The first 4 minutes of the second period would pick right up where they left off for Boston. Um, the exits for Boston from their own zone were not always clean, but the puck was getting out. There were a couple times when they were icing it. There were a couple plays when players like Foligno just get the red line and their automatic assumption is just dump it deep. That happens. There are times we do it really, really clean and we get a good neutral zone transition play and able to break into the enemy zone cleanly and quickly, which is when we're at our best. But Pittsburgh were the opposite. Their exits from their own zone weren't not clean. They were barely even happening at all, and it was really, really good to see Boston's forecheck making everyone on Pittsburgh feel pressured and panicked. They would slowly start to get it together and build much better breakouts as the game would go on, though. So instead of turning it over like Pittsburgh were, Boston were able to get the puck out, and that was a big, big difference maker so far in this game. Jarry was really keeping it 2-0 as McAvoy's a seam pass line saucer that just gets rolled on him as he had a really great scoring opportunity. But then Pittsburgh, suddenly you snap your fingers and the game becomes 2-2 out of nowhere as Danton Heinen scores 2 goals in 28 seconds. So Boston have the full run of play and Pittsburgh steal it all back all at once. So Heinen on a McGinn 2-on-1 after Boston just get ahead of their play. Puck gets chipped or stick poked the other way, and Pittsburgh do a really good job of counterattacking. McGinn and Heinen on the 2-on-1, boom, beat Swayman. Great job. 28 seconds later, Heinen beats Swayman again. This one is less forgivable in my opinion. It was one of those ones where it was a puck up high that hit flat and somehow just found a way to roll over Swayman as he's trying to trap it with his trapper. Tough one to see go in your net, and one of those ones that completely deflates all of the wind out of your team's sails, where you've had such a good run of play for the first 25-ish minutes of play. You've had a really, really great first 25 minutes. You've had a lead. You've looked to build on that lead consistently, been stopped consistently now after your 2 goals, and then suddenly Pittsburgh are allowed right back into the game in a 0-0 dogfight, essentially. And a dogfight it did become. Boston needed to answer after these 28 seconds. I thought it could have been a great time to call a timeout, and just refocus. Get everyone to take a breath, come back down, and deliver. the last 25 minutes, do that for the next 35 minutes, and you're good. There would be some response for Boston on the refocus, as Clifton would look for a huge open ice hit on Rust. We'll get a little bit of a excitement and energy back into the legs. And then Boston would go on the power play, as Pittsburgh would take a bit of a weird too many men penalty. Not a great time for them to do so either. During that penalty, Swayman has a situation where we talked about consistency. Swayman has a situation where he puts his trapper on the puck and then instantly tries to swipe it to the side to play the puck to one of his defensemen, and the referee tells him he's not allowed to do that. I'm okay with the whistles being extremely quick as soon as the referee loses sight of the puck, as long as it's consistent, right? As long as when he sees a hooking call, it's still a hooking call, and the stick is still horizontal in the player's body. That's still a hook. If you're going to be on the quick whistle, stay on the quick whistle. And there was a time later on in the game when Swayman has a puck that he knows he fully doesn't have covered, but he just blocks the official's viewpoint, like sight line to the puck, and then he gets a quick whistle. Consistency is big. Mike Riley has 2 more streaking pinches, good for building that confidence, and this is what helps open the play up massively for the game. 2-2, and you feel like both teams have a feeling like the next goal can set the tone for the rest of the whole game. They're going to be at a massive advantage in terms of momentum and play. It would come as as Coyle gets himself into trouble on his offensive blue line. He's, as the Bruins commentator Edwards is big up in Coyle, you just can't take the puck away from this guy. He gets the puck taken away from him, and instead of giving a clean breakaway down, 100 feet the other way, he takes an interference penalty and sits in the box for 2 minutes. Crosby would punish as he makes it 3-2 for Pittsburgh. Great second effort on the power play, fighting in the corner. That Crosby, Gensel, Rust line just kept getting better as the game went on and on and on. Gensel and Rust alone sets up his rebound off the side of the net. He wraps it around and feeds Crosby across. Sway tries to move over in time, gets a piece of it, just beats him near side. Great goal, nice hockey play. Boston weren't quite adaptive enough to jump over to the other side and get deep into the box. They didn't collapse their box deep enough, didn't pick up their men. Great play by Pittsburgh on the second effort. The play would continue to stay opened up, though, as Dumoulin would save a goal off a crazy glass bounce, as Hull has a puck in front of him that's rolling and rumbling, and he just can't quite fire it home, and Dumoulin makes a big stop on it. Steen has a big chance from Jake DeBrusk as he attempts the wrap. Like, there was plays going back and forth. Jarry was playing really, really, really well in this game, though. Saves at this point are 32-17, or shots are 32-17, and, Pittsburgh are up in this game with only 17 shots, 3 goals. Love to see it. Don't love it if you're a Swayman. Lots of bouncing pucks in front of the Pittsburgh net. Boston forwards or D just can't find the end for unblocked chances. Pittsburgh are doing a great job at collapsing their own box, clogging up the areas of the ice, and making it very, very difficult. No clean looks. The cleanest look was this one I showed you. Unironically, this was one of the cleanest looks the boys had all game right here. And it's still between 2 bodies and the goalie swinging across. Stick checked as the goalie's lying across with his paddle. More bodies, more bodies. But it's like the only time in the game when you're going to catch Sidney Crosby mildly puck watching. Mildly. Okay. So Pittsburgh are doing a great job defensively after their first period of collapsedness. More battles. Just lots of battles in this game. It really, really opened up at 2-2. The second line kept winning those battles, though, and they were great all night. Hull and Matheson got into it, and you don't see Hull like that often, and end up with a 4-on-4 with 1 minute left. Just lots of extracurriculars, not so much behind the whistle, but behind the play, jarring for position and stuff like that. And Jarry was getting involved with it, too. That would do it for the second period. 4-on-4 with 1 minute left. So we got 1 minute, 4-minute 4-on-4 action in going into the third. Pittsburgh go on the power play as Smith go go off for interference. Really good presence by Pittsburgh to keep the pressure in Boston zone, but an even better power play. Lazar late in shifts, I think, is just as good as when he's fresh in shifts. His instincts and fundamentals kick in, and he's got really, really solid fundamentals. His finesse and technique game isn't there to like the skills competition level, where it might be if he were on the third or second line, or where he's going to need to get to if he wants to elevate his game to the second line. But his fundamentals and penalty killing are so, so, so good. His physical game, his hockey IQ is definitely there, and I love to watch him play. Him and Nosek on that penalty kill are really, really good together, and Nosek also had a good game. Great shifts in this game. Rush tries to go between the legs. Really, really nice chance. If he scored on that, it would have been like that Bedard goal that Bedard scored a couple days ago. If you haven't seen that one, definitely check it out. Just beautiful between the legs, looking to go shelf. Swayman robs him. I don't really want to talk too much about puck luck. Just lots of bouncing pucks going everywhere. Pastrnak and Heinen are both looking for number 3. Keep that in mind. Pastrnak, at times, may be selfish, but then you write, is he being selfish here? And then the next play, he makes a beautiful seam pass to McAvoy for a beautiful chance. And you're like, no, he's not being selfish. He knows way more than I do. Bergeron, unfortunately, then gets injured. This is just, I think, incidental contact that is not much you can do about. Unfortunately, the place on the ice where it happened and the way Bergeron fell into the boards, it did not look good. It was not a clean contact. Like it wasn't purposeful, I don't think. It was incidental contact. Really, really unfortunate. Kind of like Hall and McKinnon a little bit. Different type of situation, but similar. Incidental contact where the player is in a position where they get themselves injured potentially pretty badly. I hope Bergeron can have a quick recovery and he doesn't have harsh symptoms. His history is not great for it though. And just fingers crossed he's able to make a speedy recovery. We may need him. That's with 11:16 to go in the period, and Boston are down a goal. They just lost their captain. They absolutely need a response, and it's not the type of response that gets their that gets their actual best player gone for more games. Right after Bergeron would leave the game, Crosby would hit the post on a Gensel 2-on-1. But then Boston would go on the power play as Crosby takes a uncharacteristic retaliatory penalty. I showed these two screenshots before, but this is Grzelcyk, and after he hooks him and then cross-checks him, Crosby basically turns around and just punches him once in the jaw. And just says like, hey, don't do that to me. And fair enough. He retaliated though, so he gets a retaliatory penalty. This is where Boston need to build chances, need to build momentum. There's about I think it's about 10 minutes left, maybe 8 minutes left in the game when Crosby goes off for a retaliatory penalty, right? One of their best players goes off the ice for 2 minutes. You have to take advantage. Boston are starting to play like they're down a goal after the power play, unfortunately. Pittsburgh do a great job of killing this penalty, and then Boston come alive. Marchand looks like he's trying everything, usually with like 2 white shirts hanging off him. And then Nosek is absolutely robbed by Jarry. Flashes the windmill on him, basically. Just a fantastic chance by Nosek here. Tough, right? This is tough to look at. Boom. Jarry got a massive save there. Massive. After Jarry windmill robs Nosek, the game would start to teeter out. Rust would score an empty netter after Boston obviously pulled their goalie. Make it 4-2 for Pittsburgh. Smith and then McAvoy just mishandle the puck on the offensive blue line with the net empty, and then it gets poked forward, and Rust is able to just bury it in a partial breakaway. Jarry then robs Hall on a bad angle, and after Hall gets robbed, he does this one. He's literally just got goalied. Like, literally can't buy one tonight. I don't like you saying that, got goalied, but that's the feeling that Hall has when he's just shrugging his shoulders on getting robbed like that. There are definitely words going back and forth between. Oh, sorry. Jarry robs Hall on bad angle, and then he robs Marchand. And then after he robs Marchand, he doesn't rob him, but after he saves the puck on Marchand, he leans in and says something to him. and that incenses Marchand into doing something that's going to get him suspended for a pretty long time, I think. He punches him, and then he goes back at them. If he just punched him and Jarry did a little flop, I think Marchand actually comes out a little bit positive in that. He obviously looks like a bad guy, and he always will be a bad guy. But going back at him with the stick is nail in the coffin, unacceptable, should not be allowed. There was a little bit of drama between Marchand and Jarry between periods. I'm just going to mention it because it factually happened, where Jarry was trying to give a Pittsburgh fan in the stands a puck, and Marchand just skated by, grabbed the puck, and like threw it away. It was just like, no, you're not doing that. I think Jarry was being a good guy doing that. Marchand was being a bad word, a dickhead for doing that. But that wasn't against the rules. Jarry leaning in and chirping Marchand after goalieing the fuck out of him, that's not against the rules either. Punching him and then going after him with your stick is definitely against the rules and completely unacceptable. If these two play in a series, it will be a very, very good series. I don't think Boston win it. We need better goaltending than what we were able to get out of Swayman tonight. But I don't think we win it because I don't think Pittsburgh give us a first period like they did. I don't think Pittsburgh play most first periods like that, considering they don't go down by 2 goals in the first period ever. This was the first time all season they've been down by 2 goals in the first. Yeah, we got a gift horse. We looked it in the mouth, and we ended up getting kicked by that gift horse. We lost Bergeron, we lost Marchand, and we lost a lot of confidence, I think. We have Carolina coming up next, and we're going to be playing down some very, very important men. So, start of a little bit of inconsistency for Boston, probably. We need to find ways to get points until both Marchand and Bergeron are back, and that means we need to find ways to bury pucks in the back of the net. I'm going to look at this player in particular, Charlie Coyle. I need you to finish some shots, because right now you're on the practice line with the second line, and Trent Frederick is centering the third line, and Nosek is centering the fourth line in practice today. I don't think that is where it should be. I thought Nosek had a better game than Coyle, and the fact that Frederick is above Nosek is astronomically dumb to me. I would just switch our third and fourth lines moving forward. Moving our second line up is also really good. So we've got, going forward, we'll have Hall, Haula, Pasternak, line 1. Line 2 will be DeBrusk, 2C, which will probably be Coyle, but I would rather it be Nosek. So DeBrusk, Coyle, but DeBrusk and Coyle work well together, so I'm fine with that. DeBrusk, Coyle, and Smith. Third line should be our fourth line. Foligno, Frederick, Steen should be fourth line. And then our actual fourth line is Bleed, Nosek, Lazar. That grind line, I love. I love that grind line. If Bleed can keep burying the puck and building confidence, that line can keep threatening every other fourth line in the game and compete with anyone. Shut down any other line. Lazar and Nosek are great penalty killers. Love it. All right, that's all I really want to talk about. Massively unhappy with the game last night. That was terrible. A good first 25 minutes. Don't get me wrong. The first 25 minutes were a pleasure to watch. And that's why I got so many screenshots of, stuff I wanted to talk about in that first 20 minutes. It was great to build off of. And then they just completely collapsed. Just astronomically shot themselves in the foot. Handicapped themselves. And will be suffering for it for the next couple of weeks, maybe. We'll see how long Marchand's suspension is for. I don't have hopes that it'll be any less than like 3 or 5 games. Minimum. Because it was 3 games earlier for Slewfoot. That was like kind of sus. This was deliberate and intentional and should be heavily criticized. That's all. Have a great one. Like, comment, subscribe. Check the next. That Carolina game is going to be real fun. I'm going to be in a real good mood for that one too.